Facebook groups for real estate lead generation. This is one of the most underutilized, underestimated, yet most powerful tools if you want to get bottom of funnel, very hot, ready to move now, buyers and sellers in your market. If you properly leverage Facebook groups using the strategies we're going to be sharing with you in this video, you're going to be able to build an ecosystem in your local market with local buyers and local sellers who are going to be looking to you for answers as to everything they need to know about their market, and not to mention the ninja tricks we're going to be sharing with you about how to grow the Facebook group, exactly what to post, and how our very special guest has 3x'd his business by leveraging this exact strategy. So what we're doing today is bringing on Nick Deckard, who has completely blown his business up by leveraging this very unique and creative Facebook group strategy that nobody else is doing. Everybody else I see leveraging Facebook groups lets it become chaos. They don't know what to post. There's no control over it, and it ends up just becoming a mess. And what we want to do today is give you the complete blueprint of exactly what to do to get the results Nick is, which is again 3xing his production in the last year with multi-million-dollar clients that are coming directly from his Facebook group. Now, before we dive in, I'm going to mention two quick things. Number one, I'm going to link all of Nick's content below, his incredible YouTube channel, which is a wealth of knowledge, as you're going to see in this video, as well as his Instagram. And I'm going to include a calendar link below if you want to talk more about partnering with Nick, where he will actually help you set up one of these for your local market. So without further ado, let's show you the wizard tricks of how to absolutely blow up your production by leveraging Facebook groups. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another exciting video. Today, we've got on a very special guest to talk about a topic that I think is going to be incredibly valuable to all of you guys, because I don't really see people doing this. And this is going to be a really neat avenue for leveraging Facebook in order to get high quality buyers coming directly to you, which inevitably leads to sellers as well. So today we're bringing on Nick Deckard, who's going to be talking about his super creative Facebook group strategies and how he's been able to carve out a niche for himself that's done incredible wonders for the success and the trajectory of his business. So Nick, what's going on, man?
How's it going, brother?
Good. I'm excited to have you on here. It's been amazing to see your success and the momentum you built. So before diving into the tactical practical, why don't you just talk to people about who you are, where you're from, what this has done for your business over the last, year, and then we can start getting into the specifics of, what exactly we're going to be talking about.
Absolutely. So I am in Ocean City, New Jersey, a little 7-mile wide island. And that is the only market that I serve. Happens to be where I grew up, swore I would never come back, and also swore I would never get into real estate. It's been the family business forever, so I grew up around it. But here I am, moved back home with my family, and am doing what I never thought I would like. But honestly, it's been the best move of my life to get into the field of real estate.
Definitely. And again, just talk to people about what you've done, what the strategy's done for your business, and then we'll get into it.
Absolutely. So my background is in the corporate world. I was in corporate finance and accounting for 8-ish years. So I approach things a little bit differently, a little more strategically and data driven than a lot of people do. So in getting started here, I knew that I was up against people that my dad had trained, right, who have been around for 15, 20 years. They've got their markets pretty locked down. So I was thinking of a blue ocean versus red ocean strategy for anybody who's been to business school or has read a book that talks about that. Blue ocean's the way to go. So I was looking for an angle of how I could shorten the learning curve and really get up to speed quickly, build a big, strong foundation so that over the coming decades, my business would flourish. And really what my attention focused on pretty quickly was the social media route and exactly how that could work, because nobody here was really doing it effectively. So I actually started with Remax, started on a team, lasted for about a year before I saw that the future of teams was not for me. There were too many shortfalls in that model. Lo and behold, I happened to see your ads all over the place. And eventually one night I decided, you know what, let me look at some of these social media training videos, see how what you're sharing with the world for free could help me to really craft a strategy. And that's where it all started, and really focus on YouTube and Facebook was obvious to me from the jump.
I love it. And so let's dive into that. And can you kind of hit on a perfect segue into what I think the first thing we should touch on is why Facebook, and why specifically Facebook groups, because that's been kind of your really cool niche. And we'll talk about how you've been able to create them, leverage them, some of the ninja strategies that you've used in order to convert by leading with value. But what even led you to saying, hey, not necessarily Instagram, not necessarily some of these other ones, but Facebook is the one that I think is best for me?
Yeah. So to really, for everyone to understand exactly why I chose that, I'm going to kind of backpedal. Ocean City is a second home market and a resort market more than anything else. Yes, we have a year-round population. It's very small, though. It's about 10% of what it balloons up to in the summer. So the traditional marketing strategies that I was learning, and from all other coaches out there, the big names that most people are familiar with, really don't work. Direct mail is a door to nowhere. Door knocking doesn't work because nobody's home most of the time. So being in a second home market, you have to do things a little bit differently. Now, these will work for everybody. Everything I'm going to talk about today, you can use anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world, should be just as effective. But anybody who's like me in a second home market, you really want to dial this in to really help explode your business. So taking another step back in terms of demographics in second homes, I'm a member, I have my RSPS certification, which quite frankly is not necessary. Anybody who doesn't have it, you're fine without it. I took the training just to see if it would be helpful, and lo and behold, it's not. But demographically speaking, an older generation tends to own most second homes. Older generations, while millennials like myself are getting old fast, most of the generation who owns these homes is not really on Instagram. They're not that active. They're definitely not on TikTok actively. But Facebook is still that kind of comfortable platform for them. Eventually that may transition, but that's where it is for now. So one thing that I noticed was that in my market here, there were a bunch of Facebook groups that were fairly active, but it was mostly full of absolute nonsense all over the place, scattershot. How's the weather today? Are there flies on the beach? What's your favorite pizza? That's all well and good. There's a time and a place for all that. But funny enough, those groups were started by realtors, every single one of them. I wanted to be more strategic in targeting an audience who is going to be actively looking for the information that I was seeking to provide, which is teaching people about the market here, how to not make a mistake when you buy the first time. On average, people own for 5-ish years before they make a change. I'd like to see that for 10 plus years to my clients. Now, yes, is that the best business strategy in terms of transactions? Probably not. But in terms of client experience and making people make the right decision, helping them to really make a correct generational decision versus an in the moment, maybe semi-correct decision was my goal. So with Facebook groups, again, I saw what was out there, scattershot, totally unhelpful. If you're in any Facebook groups in your local community, occasionally there will be a realtor related question. Who do you recommend? All of a sudden, 100 realtors that you've never seen come out of the woodwork, vomiting their number at people, call me, call me, call me. Number one, that's overwhelming. Number two, that's not really what that poster was looking for. They're looking for advice from people who have had a good experience. So I decided to take a totally different strategy. And I'm going to come back to those posts in a minute. I created a group. It's called Tips for Buying in OCNJ. Now, OCNJ is just shorthand for Ocean City, New Jersey. Anybody who vacations or lives here knows that. So creating that group, it's highly targeted, right? You're not joining that if you're wondering what the weather's like today, right? You're not joining that for any other miscellaneous reason that you join all the other ones for. You're only joining that if you have interest in buying now or in the future. So that's how I decided to filter the huge amount of people who are interested in buying here at some point down to the most serious. Now, interesting statistic, and I don't know if this is going to apply to other markets, but in general, in my market, I did some testing. Roughly 10% of the people who say they want to buy ultimately end up buying. That leaves 90% of people who if you're working with everybody under the sun who expresses any level of interest, you're going to waste a lot of time. So part of my goal of this group is to filter people down. And we can talk about this in a minute, but all the attraction strategies that you talked about in the Social Agent Academy that we have here in the Wolfpack, I just tweaked that a little bit. Mm-hmm. And now those 10% reach out to me, and that it's been life-changing for my business. So that group was the first step, and it really took off from there.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I think that's important because, again, a lot of people will take their thought process is, how can I take the approach that's going to get the most number of people humanly possible to be in this ecosystem? Whereas, again, as you allude to, what they don't realize is that being a big net sized approach and just putting a net in the sea and hoping you catch every fish. That's not going to be something that's going to allow you to build a successful, scalable, predictable business, because your profit margins are going to get decimated because the amount of time you're spending weeding out all the people. Whereas, a lot of people say, well, Mike, if I make it so niche, only a few people are going to be in there. Well, it's the same thing as putting out a YouTube video and only a few people watching, but it turning into $1 million listing. Like, who cares? It's not about the vanity metrics of the volume. It's about the quality of people that are actually interacting with the efforts and the initiatives that you're doing. So, I think that's a great kind of frame as to why it's so powerful. And especially for the people in second home markets, like many in terms of Florida, in terms of, Arizona and in all of these places, which is so powerful. A lot of people are then going to say, well, Nick, what do you even post in there? How do you stay consistent? What kind of value you're putting in there? Because there's only so much I feel like I can talk about, but you've got a couple neat strategies as to how you've been able to really lead with value. But also, I love the strategy that you use to siphon people from other groups. And I think that's going to be a good kind of two-pronged question is, how did you actually populate that group in terms of getting people in there? And then leading into what are you actually posting within that group as well?
Absolutely. So in terms of populating the group, and I want to be very clear here, right? As much as I could have put ad spend behind everything I was doing, I did not spend a penny throughout growing this group in any way, shape, or form. So this is a free strategy that anybody can use if you are budget conscious or whether you just want to go for it anyway. Now, back to that question I mentioned, the realtor question, who do you recommend or anything real estate related? I was the one of the 100 who was actually trying to add value. And leading with value is everything that, I've learned from you from being in the wolf pack. And it's been absolutely phenomenal, just that mental shift and what it's done for me. But leading with value. So instead of saying, hey, call me, I'll help you, I would just put a canned post, I should say, basically saying, hey, all of these agents who are recommending themselves are great. But if you're looking to simply learn more about the process, learn about the island with no sales pressure, no human contact whatsoever, feel free to join this group. Bingo, the end. What that does, not only did most of the original posters of those questions join the group, but there are thousands of people looking at those questions too, whether it's to recommend their own realtor or to, they're curious, they're just more of a lurker than an interactor in these groups, which is very common. And they would join too. So every time there was a post, started with 2 to 5 for the first post. And then the next post was 10 to 20. And it's consistently, I'll get between 10 and 20 per question. Now, I focused on those for the first maybe 6 months. But what I want to talk about a little bit here with Facebook groups and how they grow organically is very, very important. So once you get that initial buildup going, consistency, which is a huge theme throughout why social media works, if you're consistent, consistency in the group posting and some engagement too will tell Facebook, hey, this is an active and engaged group. We're going to put you in the recommended groups category for when people are in another group. If you've ever noticed that, it's off to the right-hand side. Once you've made it there, you're gold, you're good. So that's how I populated it initially, and that's how it continues to grow. I have not thrown that post up in quite a while. Not as many people now with the market changing are asking that question. So fortunately, I got it off the ground the way that I did when I did, but this can work anywhere, anytime. Now, as for what am I putting in the group, right? How am I adding value? What's keeping people coming back? I've tried a ton of different things. I'll talk through a couple options here, but they're all video related outside of a very small portion. So with my entire strategy being posting consistently 1 video to YouTube per week, for a period of time in the growth phase, I was doing 3 per week to really get off the ground, but I've tailored it back to 1. I'm consistently posting 1 of those a week and maybe 1 to 2 other posts, usually a question just to kind of gauge the group and what they're looking for going forward, which I want to be very, very clear on that. I have the ability to ask over 1,300 people interested in my market what they want to know, right? Instead of guessing. And, keyword research was how I did everything at the start. Now I have a captive audience and they can tell me what they want. And lo and behold, wow, I deliver for them. Who do you think they're going to trust and be thankful for? I'll be this guy. So that is a hidden gem within these groups that really help you, not just with converting to clients and adding value, but it helps you on the YouTube side of things too. So Those videos are everything. I've also, in those questions, again, simply asked what people look for or what they want. And at one point, a big need was, hey, can you take a look and just provide a summary of all the condo complexes on the island? There's not hundreds, right? In some markets, that would be an impossible task. But I created a guide that goes through and says, hey, here are the condo fees. Here's what it covers. Here's ones that are pet friendly. Here's a description, some pictures, basic information that's not going to change. That was a one-time creation. Not only did I share that into the group, but I've used that with KV Core as a lead magnet too. Just backpedal, KV Core is our CRM that we get here, and I've created a landing page. So I get leads periodically just from that one-time creation. It's out there floating in the ether, and it's still generating business for me. So all of that in a nutshell in terms of growth and consistent posting is really important to at least lay the foundation for it for y'all.
Yeah, that's really incredible. And I love that now you've got this kind of captive audience that you can beta test in terms of, again, delivering, the value that they specifically want. And I think it's even a cool story to talk about, which you kind of mentioned on our group call the other day about, the fact that you're delivering so much value is actually having people choose you over friend referrals that they're getting. So maybe you want to just, weave that in there, because I think it's pretty powerful to really drive home, what the over delivering on value approach can actually do for the decision-making process of a potential buyer or seller.
Absolutely. So again, going back to the kind of blue ocean strategy piece, on my little 7 Mile Island, there are over 500 licensed realtors. We have a year-round population of about 10,000. That's a lot of agents for a small population. Now, obviously, agent-to-agent referrals are huge in our business, right? You have a built-in trust factor. You generally don't have to worry about losing a client who is referred to you. In a couple different cases, one very recently, I had a buyer reach out to me who had been lurking in the group, never interacted, didn't even know they were in there. I can't keep track of them all, but got a phone call out of nowhere. Talked to this person for quite a while. Turns out that they're going to be buying on the beach, right? That is not a low price point. And they had reached out despite being referred to another agent that their best friend, who is their realtor back home, advised that they work with. So they had their best friend telling them to trust this other person. And they reached out to me and are going to work with me anyway, because for months they had been seeing the value that I have, the knowledge that I have. So it's a known quantity, right? They got to feel, even more importantly, beyond the knowledge, it's the personality. It was the first thing that they said was, hey, look, we know what you're all about. We've been seeing your videos. I feel like we would be a good fit. As much as I want to trust my friend and I talked to this other agent, I just feel like we would be a better fit. That was not based on our phone call. That was based off of their perception of what our relationship would be like, which is the truth, right? Because if you're going to go down this road and do video, you're yourself. If you're not yourself, it doesn't work. So not only do the people who reach out to me know who I am, but again, they are the most serious of the bunch too. So it's kind of a match made in heaven. I haven't had a nightmare client since I started doing this. Finally got rid of my last nightmare client from before I started doing all of this, and they closed a couple months ago. So smooth sailing from here.
That's awesome, man. I think that it just really drives home the point, and it's good frame of reference for people to understand. So, there's going to be people that are going to obviously listen to this and say, I love this idea. I'm in a second home market, or even a first home market. And I just want to, over deliver on what everybody else is doing, because as you alluded to, I'm a part of all the community groups here. They're absolutely useless. People are posting a bunch of stuff that is just cluttering the feed. And it's a nightmare. It's like needle in a haystack approach to try and actually get a client in there, which from a business perspective, if you're looking to grow and scale, is not the best use of your time. So, now you're obviously at this point where you can gauge interest in terms of polling the group and asking questions, and you kind of have your finger on the pulse of what people are looking for, just based on the repetitive nature of how you've been able to close so many deals in this group. My question to you would be, for somebody that's looking to get started today, what sources of information, or how did you come up with ideas as to what to post? Is there certain, sources online that you use? What did you do to kind of find the initial ideas during that ramp up phase as to what should I be posting in here that I think is actually going to connect with people to the point where they stay in the group and find value in it?
So to be perfectly honest, again, I started this group before I joined up with you at EXP and the Wolfpack, and I had looked at a bunch of the videos you have out there on YouTube, the 5 videos to post, the 10 videos to post to generate business. And that's what I used. That was my template. And a lot of that, again, I'm focused on buyers. There's always an influx of new buyers coming into any market. In a second home market, I find that it's an even greater percentage because people are dreaming about this stuff all year, right? There's
Yeah.
not necessarily just a day or two where people are thinking about it. So you have the ability to reach these people consistently. Top 5 reasons to move to whatever the case is, 3 things you didn't know about owning a second home or a primary home in your market. All of these different types of videos. And it's just me talking, right? This is not high level professional editing. This is nothing that is that extreme. And again, didn't cost me anything outside of the editing software that I use. I did everything myself. And honestly, I still do as much as I probably shouldn't. It's hard to let it go. But to get started, you simply need to get started, right? And if you look at Mike's channel for all of those different recommendations of here are the videos to do, here are the videos that have been proven to work time and time again in all these different markets, you simply have to follow the blueprint. And that's something that, again, fortunately you provided. I have developed my own blueprint that I'm sharing with other agents who have been reaching out for help about doing and replicating what it is that I've done. So that's been a really fun thing to craft and create, reflect back on what worked, what didn't work, and hopefully help other people shorten the learning curve. As much as I shortened it myself, I know it could be done faster and better for others too.
Yeah, I think that's great because again, there's no need to reinvent the wheel as you're getting the momentum built. And then I think, you've done this. Many other people in the group have done this where it's like, okay, use the kind of blueprint to get things off the ground, but then throughout that experience, throughout that journey, you're then going to find you're going to find your own voice. You're going to go find your own niche, and then you can kind of, spawn from there into something that you're just in full control over, and you're coming up with your own ideas based on the group. And I think it's a really cool evolution to start with what's proven and then graduate to what you find is really kind of niching down into your space. So I think one of the last things I want to touch on is the way that you've blended in YouTube to this, because I think it's really cool where you've taken a platform that, with a Facebook group and you've been able to do really well with that. But then again, you've been able to over deliver on video content and you've been able to blend in your channel to this. So what kind of made you kind of approach YouTube as well? And how have you kind of seen the parallel of those two really work together in harmony?
So I'll be very, very clear, right? Every platform works,
Yeah.
right? But I took the approach that I don't have the ability nor desire to try to be an expert on all of them, right? I would be stretching myself too thin. So from a strategic standpoint, I want to go where the intent is, right? Not interruption based, where occasionally, yes, you can pick up and build traction that way. But I want people who are in that phase of, hey, I'm looking to do something in the near future. Because in a second home market, that incubation period between, hey, let's think about a second home and doing it is a very long time for most people. So if I can catch them closer to that tail end versus at the very start, it's a good thing. But I also get people at the start who have referred their friends, family members who are closer to the end to me. So I chose YouTube because it is intent driven, right? It's the second biggest search engine out there. It's owned by Google. So anybody who Googles anything Ocean City, New Jersey related sees my face at some point, right? They've heard my voice, whether they want to or not. So through that, the intent was key for me. And then from the Facebook piece, again, not everybody in that older generation is as savvy on YouTube. They're not going to Google everything. I still get questions from my mom sometimes. How did you figure that out? I Googled it. Like, how many times do we have to go through this? But not everybody does that. A lot of people start with Facebook, right? It's their platform they're comfortable with. So I'm capturing the YouTube native audience as well as the Facebook native audience and really cross promoting. So from a tracking standpoint, it's a little bit difficult for me sometimes to say, hey, where is it that you came from? Well, I came from your Facebook group. But did you come from YouTube? Did you find a link in the YouTube video that took you to the group? And that's how you found me? Oh, yeah, that's right. So that has become less important to me as it was at the beginning in terms of the metric tracking, but intent focused buyers and sellers are where you want to spend your time, my opinion.
100%, man. And you've just taken such a cool approach where it's just like, I'm just going to go straight to the people that are going to be the hottest. And it might be few or far between in the beginning. It might take a little longer to build momentum, but once it hits, once it connects, once I find my groove, this is going to be something that is going to be scalable in nature and is going to be the best use of my time, which I think is absolutely incredible. So, bringing things full circle, I think you've got a very similar mentality towards how to approach these initiatives as I do. And I think it's really great to see. So there's going to be a lot of people that come away from this. Again, I'm ready to start. I'm ready to take action. We constantly see people start today or tomorrow or next week, and then they do it for a month, and then they're like, hey, I've got 6 people in the group. Clearly this isn't for me. So your advice in terms of building this into your business as a long-term strategy, what's kind of your recommendation to people in terms of the mentality you need to have when going into an initiative like this, in terms of commitment and, kind of how you should be, leveraging this in terms of your time?
So I'm glad you mentioned mindset. So in our space, mindset's everything, right? We know that. But a lot of people do not have the right mindset before they start, right? They say, I'm just going to pick up this blueprint. It's going to work immediately, whatever the expectations are. We could say here, hey, it's going to take you 6 months before it really builds up. And you hear that. But if you don't have the right commitment and the right mindset, you're unlikely to stick with it through that way. So really, I would say before just diving right in, you need to sit down and create a plan, right? A 90-day plan, 180-day plan of exactly what your intentions are and how you're going to execute this, and stick with it in a way that fits with where you currently are, versus just forecasting into the future saying, yes, I'm excited for when we hit 1,000 people in this group. It's going to be a slow build, right? I think for the first 90 days, it took me 90 days to crack, I think 100 or 150 people in the group. That was one video a week at that point, consistently in those other groups, looking for opportunities to add value. The other thing that I didn't mention before, when you find a video topic that's really going to add value to people, that you're not saying, hey, come work with me, call me, I'm a realtor, that you have the ability to post in some of these other groups because it's truly valuable. For me, one of the biggest videos that I posted in the existing groups that helped pull people to mine was about a tool that we have here. Being on a barrier island, flooding is an issue. So there's a tool that our county has. It's a visual interactive tool where you can say, hey, the water's going to be here. What's it going to look like on this block, at this house, wherever it might be? And that was huge. So I did a walkthrough of how to use it. So by adding value, just saying, hey, everybody, if you're tired of moving your cars or wondering when you have to, where you should park, here's how you can actually figure it out based on where you are. The end of story. So at the end of that, hey, if you're looking for more videos like this, feel free to join this group. Again, it's not a push. It's not a call me for if you're ready to buy or sell. It's just, if you're looking for more information like this, I'm going to be creating more of it. Come hang out here with me and you won't regret it. So make a plan that you can commit to. Don't say I'm going to do 5 videos a week if you haven't done 1 video a week, right? For those first 90 days, I would encourage you to just shoot for 1, right? Don't shoot for the moon. Don't set yourself up for failure, because it's hard, especially if you have an existing business that does require your time. You already have marketing legs that you're focused on. You start small. Once you've proven to yourself that you can do this, that you build up the confidence, then you can grow from there, right? Then you reevaluate after that 90 days and do it again and do it again and again and again. And you will look back and be absolutely astonished with what you've been able to do that you may not have imagined.
Yeah. And I think it's so important, because again, there's even a caveat to saying that, it might take 6 months in order to build momentum, because it could take 6 months to build momentum, with the caveat that you're consciously trying to improve every single month over month. Because a lot of people, what they're going to do is they're going to say, okay, I'm going to commit to this for 6 months. They're going to do a half-ass effort for 6 months and say, well, where's the clients? Right? It's like whereas when you went into this, you're like, I'm going to improve. I'm going to over deliver every single week. I'm going to find out, what can I do more? How much more value can I offer for 6 months, month over month? And then, that could be that inflection point that kind of meets the sweet spot and starts to, yield some of the return on your time invested. So I think it's the same thing with YouTube videos. I tell people all the time is, if we have people in our group getting clients after 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, but the ones that are doing it and getting the clients are rewatching their own videos. They're looking at, how they can improve and consciously studying it to make sure that they're not just coasting for that time period. They're improving and growing during that time period, which puts them on that trajectory of just incredible growth. So I love it, man. And I think, the really cool part about all of this is that people do have an opportunity to partner with you in order to get you to help them set up groups like this and give them the blueprint and make sure that if they're looking to do this in their market, they're doing it the right way the first time by having the right guidance and the right mentorship. So to bring this full circle, why don't you talk to people just about, what made you decide to explore our group, use us in order to kind of take your business to the next level and what it looks like to partner with you.
Absolutely. So again, I mentioned I started with Remax. I've only been in the business here for coming up on 3 years. So my first year, I was a member of a team, saw that I was the team leader's retirement plan. But unfortunately, right, when you're on a team, your split is terrible for the most part. So I outgrew that very quickly. And that was the only model that I knew at the time, right? At some point, I'm going to have to lead a team. I'm going to wait a second. I'm going to have to shuffle through these people who actually get it and are good and are top producers because they're not going to stay. So this is a hamster wheel for me. I want no part of that. So at that point, once I realized that, I said, there's got to be something better out there, a better model that's going to allow me long-term to live the life that I want to live. So really, after looking at a couple of the newer brokerages, KW, Compass, and EXP, it was kind of a no-brainer for me. And that's, again, once I made that decision that I'm going to look into these, I had been seeing your face and your ads all over the freaking place for months. So you know what? Fine. I will actually check out not just the trainings that I had loved and leveraged, but the EXP side of things. So it was mostly the model more than anything else that drew me towards the brokerage, right? The opportunity for multiple streams of income, the incentive to actually mentor people and build a culture within your organization, which is totally different than anything else that exists out there in the marketplace. And there are people trying to copy it, but they're unsuccessful at this point. And I don't see anybody beating the model anytime soon. So that was step one. Step two was choosing a sponsor. And that's something that people don't talk about enough, I think. I interviewed 5 different sponsors. Honestly, those first 4, I would have had a good relationship with. But the value proposition simply wasn't there. It was basically, hey, we have everything the EXP has, and maybe this one other thing, right? The value proposition of the Wolfpack just blew the other ones away once I understood it. I'm sure you don't remember our first call because you have so damn many of them, but it was maybe 7 minutes, right? You didn't have to sell me on anything because you led with value and you put it all out there, right? Instead of gatekeeping and saying, hey, you know what? Once you call me, then maybe I'll share something with you. Yeah. What I knew to expect was very clear from the jump. So the Wolfpack, not only the resources that you have here and the training, but it was the culture more than anything else, right? We are a geographically fragmented organization, but it does not feel like that. When we were together down at the Build conference, I recognized everybody. I felt like I knew everybody from the jump, which was really cool. Yeah. And it was mind blowing. You could feel the energy difference between our group and others at the conference as well. So I would say to anybody who is looking to get out of a traditional model because there are so many shortcomings, whether that's your split's too low, whether you don't get the support of the training that you want, EXP has the solution for you. I can promise you that. But furthermore, the Wolfpack is going to absolutely blow your mind.
Yeah, it's been incredible to have you as just such a a value-driven contributor to the group, man, and being a team player, because again, it really is like a family, and I think not a lot of people know how big of a difference it makes when you align with the right group here, because these are now going to be your business partners, your family members, hopefully for the next 10, 15, 20 plus years in this business. And you want to be with people that, again, are helping you elevate your business to the next level, not people that are at the same level playing field and going to keep you where you are. So, and my favorite part is that we can stack value here to help people get to where they want to be, where, I've got my niche in terms of what I'm able to do. You have incredible wealth and knowledge of what you've been able to achieve. And we can combine that together to help people get from where they are today to where they want to be without feeling lost, overwhelmed, and absolutely scatterbrained like many seem to feel. So incredibly grateful for you, man. Again, thank you for popping on today, guys. As mentioned, I'm going to link all of Nick's, channels below, all of his social media, as well as a link where you can talk to him one-on-one on Zoom about partnering with him, because again, you're going to get both of us, and it's going to be a really incredible kind of value stack to get you to that next level going forward, especially during this shifting market. So as always, guys, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe. And Nick, thank you so much again, man.
I appreciate you, Mike, big time. It's a pleasure to be on.
Guys.